Some might call space the final frontier, but in Stellaris, we find it to be the start of our tiny civilization, managing entire star systems, from the individual populace on a planet to the subjugation of our enemies, living out our colonist dreams as we displace large groups of native alien fauna with no regard to the local populace. I find out there is a galactic form of social experimenting and populace control, the Intergalactic Senate. Not only could we force members to adhere to our rules,
I am the Senate.
we could gather the Senate to eradicate our enemies. Dig a little deeper and I find we can truly live out our post-capitalist dreams by extracting every possible resource from our worlds and our people and assimilate them into a single form, or spend time colonizing new worlds, subjugating other civilizations to provide us with even more resources. At this point, I had already bought the game and it was time to begin my civilization anew. Nearly right after purchasing the game, I realized a lot of what I wanted to do was behind a DLC. It was then that I realized Paradox Interactive was engaging in their own form of optimized post-capitalist manipulation in the form of $371 worth of 29 DLC packs. I did not take kindly to this abuse and decided it was time to name my own civilization after the creators of the game themselves. Having liberated my wallet of its remaining cash, I was ready to take my frustrations and internally conflicted morals out on the innocent Xenos. My goal was to engage in the most basic of human instincts, removing any possible competition and maximizing our profits as soon as possible, whether that's by taking notes from the US and corrupting my Senate, or by removing my standards of living to ensure that I make as much money as possible. For my first run, I decided to stick with the United Nations of Earth template, as I had no idea what anything else here did. The first thing the game tells me is about the millions of lives lost to reach this point, and I was ready to make that number seem inconsequential by comparison. This tiny robot appeared on my screen, talking about a tutorial, and I made sure to reformat his memory drive.
Don't be a fool.
And continue on my merry way. And almost immediately, I'm met with so many decisions, I find myself more confused than my college roommate stumbling back home at 5 a.m. Ethics? I've never needed those. Civics? Who needs them? Traits? I'd rather we just assimilated everyone into a single mashed up brain of wires. I decided the best thing to do was make sure I set my policies correctly. Can't have the common populace getting out of hand. Then I made sure to set everyone's rights appropriately. We're not here to piss rainbows and build snowflakes. My citizens need to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and get working. Administration, labs, commercial zones. I think our citizens would benefit from a few centuries in the mines. I need to make sure my populace knows hard work before we get hung up on bureaucracy and research. Now, it seems like it's time to take our only living scientist and send him headfirst into the unknown.
Wait.
To find us more resources and worlds to democratize. It's been only a few minutes and I realize we're out of energy and food and consumer goods. My citizens were so unhappy they nearly immediately took to revolution, taking my planets and my ships. It seems my lack of control led to the common man thinking they had rights or access to food and water or safe jobs and housing. So I took this personal failure and started again. This time as a dictatorship, so no one could question my absolute authority, getting rid of those pesky rights and standards. Now, as a xenophobic militarist, I should excel at building my true utopian capitalist society. To ensure the assimilation of every planet and large group of people, I took notes from the US and put every resource into building my military force, even at the expense of my populace. At the first sign of xenolife, I began my plan to conquer and claim, taking every starbase and wiping out their meager fleets. Much like Great Britain, I misstepped and found my war a little untenable, forced in a status quo and left to leave my colony behind. And shortly after found my nearby neighbor had declared immediate war on me as well.
Motherfucker, it's the United States of America, and I hear you guys got oil that isn't under my possession.
Moving my remaining fleet, we gathered force at my home base. We went out to war once again. With an exhausted populace, low resources, and nearly no internal support, I sent all of my citizens directly to the enemy's homeland, striking fear into the hearts of our potential oppressors. We lost. We were utterly obliterated. We took our last survivors back and we rebuilt. And we lost again. And again. And we were subjugated by them. It seems our ethical and utopian society is struggling to solidify in this bleak galactic landscape. Try as we might, it's nearly impossible to get a foothold in another war against these repulsive pacifist xenophiles. We lose nearly every battle, even with power advantage. It seems like my plan to sardine pack frigates like meat isn't as effective as I thought. And soon after, I realized maybe starports are worth building after all. After subjugating myself to hours of painful and intense research and huffing copious amounts of prescription drugs, I realized there's more to ship combat than bigger number equal better. I took to my fleet and worked tirelessly to build my ultimate force of destruction, and found myself with a few victories under my belt. During this moment of intense and rigorous self-inflection, I also realized maybe we had made some poor decisions about our research, and our meandering society of apes was quickly falling behind. Playing with sticks and stones was not enough when our neighbors were controlling space and time itself.
Reality can be whatever I want.
Now I don't know if it was the research and self-inflection, the building of a new army, or the copious amounts of drugs coursing through my veins, but I could feel it in my bones. We were close. We were so close to reaching that golden age. Starting again, we finally started to move out of our industrial age and towards our goal of a fully functioning hive city, with every inch producing us more capital. We even found ourselves a cute little civilization to personally force into peaceful subjugation.
Engaging enemy station. Engaging enemy station. Fleet action underway.
However, we quickly found that our hive city was less than pleased with having never seen the sky, ground, or more than a few feet of space at a time. At the same time, our subject was finding its condition less than tenable, and we found ourselves with both an ungrateful rebellion and a full-scale revolt from our weaker subject. Unfortunately, combined, we saw our future crumble as we quickly lost our progress. Finally, after decades of trials and tribulations, we had built everything we needed to take over the galaxy. And after only a few years, we found ourselves subjugated by our first neighbor, forced into terms, losing resources, eventually our cities, and restricted from growing. We faded into history. At this point, it's time I took a break, as the discrimination and abuse I was suffering was too much for my mental health. After many hours of learning, losing, learning, losing, and losing everything again, I found myself nearly addicted, comatose, and in need of urgent care. In terms of complexity and getting personally turned out by a video game, every other game is a brisk walk through a beautiful park, and Stellaris is a full sprint from the cops at the mention of a protest. I find few games as unforgiving, but also fun, and completely sound in logic and design. This game is without a doubt one whole galaxy of xenophile scum out of 20 criminal syndicates who won't leave my homeworld alone for even a second.